right, we're back at Hawaii Reel. I have with me my great friend, Tony Brown. He is the owner and operator of BoomBoom SportFishing, and he's going to tell us a little bit about that today here at Hawaii Reel. So, Tony, thank you for coming on, man.
EO, thanks for having me. It's really great to do this. This is my first podcast. This is great. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, mate. Thanks for coming up here. It's been really great getting to know you over the past couple of years. I know Tony Brown from Lacrosse. He's now the commissioner for the Hawaii Lacrosse League, Aloha Youth Lacrosse Association, AYLA.
Yep.
So you're taking on that big responsibility in addition to like running your own business and everything, right?
Yes, and coaching a team. I'm taking over as a coach of St. Louis High School's team. So I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, running the business is definitely always there and provides a decent living for us to live out here in paradise.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're a great leader and everything like that. You know, you've taken charge of, you know, not just coming out here and starting your business, but also taking charge in lacrosse and becoming a head coach first, and then now the commissioner, and now taking on the coaching job for a high school team.
Yes, it's been great. You know, lacrosse has opened a lot of doors for me in my life. I'm from the East Coast, from Maryland, and that's where I started playing and coaching. And I moved here to Hawaii, and I've been playing since I've been here, but just recently I've been able to free up my time enough to be able to coach, which is even more rewarding than playing because you have impact on so many great young lives.
Yeah. And I absolutely love lacrosse. I'm glad my kids are in it, and I'm glad you're involved with it now and taking over and stuff like that. But let's go back to your fishing business. Like, how did you come from Maryland to Hawaii? And then, well, first of all, how'd you make that transition? Like, what brought you here to Hawaii?
Well, I'll go back a little bit and start answering your first question, I think, maybe because it leads into the answer of how I ended up over here. Okay. But I grew up fishing on the East Coast in the Chesapeake Bay. From the time I could walk, I had a fishing pole in my hand, and I fished, and that's what I did. It was great. And I always imagined that at some point, after I retired from a normal job on the East Coast, I'd have a charter boat to run as a retiree. I had an opportunity to come to Hawaii about 20 years ago, and I was only supposed to be here for 3 months, but little did they know that it was way harder than that to get rid of me.
Yeah, you get here for 3 months, and it's just like, oh, dude, I can't leave, man.
Can't leave. And I got to go fishing out off of the west side, which is where BoomBoom SportFishing is based, on the west side of Oahu in Waianae. And I saw all these boats going out, and it kind of blew my mind, the size of boat that was going out in the ocean to go catch marlin or big tuna, you know, out in the open ocean.
Because it was a small boat, or you're
Yes, because they were small boats. There was 17 to 25 foot boats that were the norm out there. Yeah. And the charter boats that were out there were 28 and 31 feet. And I just never could have imagined. So after I saw that going on and I got to experience a great fishing, I was about 2 months into it when I decided I'm going to stay here and try to start that charter business now.
How long ago was that?
20 years ago.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Going on, it'll be 20 years later on this month, actually, that I first started the business, but yes.
So what was like the challenges and everything starting a fishing business? Did you just right away like have the resources and everything ahead of time?
No, capital was definitely the number one problem. I had to borrow money to purchase the first boat, which I always tell my customers these days that if they saw my first boat, they probably wouldn't have booked with me because of the boat that I have now. You know, I know they like the fact that it's 50 feet and it's air conditioned. Well, this is 27 feet and it had a single engine and a little tiny cabin nobody's using, and one of the Porta-John deals where you have to dump it out at the end of the day, like completely different setup, right? Yeah. But that's what I got started with, and I think my passion for it kind of outweighed the fact that I was on a small boat, and I have even had customers that have been with me from the very first boat to now my third boat, my 50-foot boat. So that's been great to experience that. But that's what got me out here. 2 months into it, I decided, hey, why not? And if it doesn't work, I go back home.
Now, like being from the mainland and coming here, especially jumping into like the fishing business, was there like any, I guess, heartache or transition going, organizing with like the locals in the area or anything like that, or getting along with people?
I'm lucky, you know, like until I opened my mouth, a lot of people thought I was from Waianae.
Okay.
So I kind of faked it till I made it kind of deal.
Okay.
But I met a lot of nice people, a lot of nice friends. But definitely there was some friction from some people. And really thinking back, the biggest friction was, of course, from a person who wasn't even from Hawaii, but they were in Waianae Harbor before I was. So they felt like they owned it, and I was coming in.
Territorial people.
Yes. But, it's okay. We do a lot of great in the community out there. We help a lot of the homeless. They come and work, doing various things for us.
Wow.
Cleaning the boat, things like that, or diving and cleaning the bottom of the boat. One of the guys that does that is in the homeless camp over there. But we just made friends with the community, and we try to do a good job with what we're doing. And I think everyone respects that.
Yeah. Like, how big is your business now? How many people do you employ? And you said you have 3 boats.
Oh, just one.
Just one.
This is my 3rd boat.
Okay.
At one time, I was running 2, the boat that I have now and my 2nd boat, which is a 40-footer. But now I'm just down to 1 boat, which is enough as far as keeping up with employees and maintenance. And I'd say that's probably the number one challenge that I have today is good, reliable helpers. Right now I have 2 captains and 3 deckhands that work on my business.
Oh, wow.
Work for my business.
Okay. Now, do you still go out on the boats and everything or like that, or are you more of a manager kind of thing?
Well, this is the first year where I've taken time to be a manager and let the other guys run the boat. And that's what we've been doing since March.
Okay.
And it's freed up my time tremendously where I can do even more. Spend more time with my kids, number one, as they grow up and need to be run from one practice to the other around the island. I've kept up with them that way by doing that, and it's been really great. And I would say, like, there was definitely something I didn't think I could do. I didn't think I could turn the reins over to the other guys and it still go. But it's going, and it's going well.
Yeah, because that's one of the things, like, I hear. I like to watch that show Shark Tank. I don't know if you've ever seen that show.
I do. I like it.
Yeah, I like it too. I think a lot of entrepreneurial people, find a lot of value in that show. But one of the things I always see is people will build a business or build a product and go to the sharks, and like that business and product, that's that person's baby. And they're, sometimes they're really hesitant to, give up percentages of the business to get that shark involved. And a lot of times it's like they're fighting over like 5% or 10% of the business. And I'm just like, dude, why? Like, let go of your baby. The baby's got to grow. Leave the house.
It's so hard to let go of your baby.
It is.
Especially when you're like me. I didn't have anything. So my parents provided me a good life. My mom in particular, because my dad passed when I was still a kid, but provided me a great life. But after that, I didn't have anything. So my business, getting it going and getting on my feet and being able to support my family, it became super vital. So I think that's what made it so, like, I felt like I had to control it because it was so important. And now it's still very important, but I realized that sometimes by letting go, you grow more than if you hang on as tight as you can.
Yeah, and that's what I see a lot with like the Shark Tank people is like when they finally do make a deal with the sharks, their business skyrockets. And like, okay, that 10% that you maybe gave up, like now that's making you millions of dollars, where otherwise you wouldn't have been doing that.
I see the same thing on that show, and I also watch the show The Prophet. And it's amazing how sometimes people just can't see the forest for the trees when it comes to things like that, where it's like getting this person involved that's going to open up all these other doors to you is worth giving up a few percentage points or whatever, 10% or even sometimes 15%. I've seen them argue over, but sometimes you got to let go to grow.
Now, were you always like a business guy? Or were you just like a fisher guy that wanted to start a fish? Like, how did you go from being a fisherman to like wanting to run your own ship?
Right. I was always a business guy.
Okay.
As a kid, we had this warehouse club called Pace back in Laurel, Maryland. And I'm from Columbia, Maryland, so 15 minutes away. But Pace was, as far as I know, at least in my life, the first membership warehouse that I've ever seen. And that, of course, way before Costco that we all use now. But we used to go into Pace to buy our groceries, and I'd see candy for sale there, bulk candy. And I'd ask my mom to buy the candy for me, and I would take it to my middle school and sell it at lunchtime. And I made pretty good money with that. Yeah,
I mean, that's how you start, right? You start as a kid, and you just find these little things, and you get that mindset. When you have that mindset as a kid, that kind of sets the ground rules for how you look at the world. It's like, yeah, no, I can make money doing that. Oh, I can make money doing that. I don't just have to work for a company or work for someone to make money.
For sure. There's good sides to both sides of that equation, right? Like if you work for someone, hopefully at 5 p.m. or whenever you get off, you can leave it all there. Come back the next day or after the weekend or the holiday and do it again, and then leave it all there when you leave that day too. It's usually much more comfortable. The insurance is taken care of. The pension maybe is taken care of depending on where you work.
It's comfortable.
On the other side, the entrepreneur side, you're betting on yourself. So if you don't come through, there is no pension, there is no health insurance or things like that. So
there's like
it's very risky, and you can see why people enjoy either side of that equation.
It's like there's a saying for entrepreneurs. It's like you work 80 hours so that you don't have to work 40 hours kind of thing. Like you work a lot for yourself. That's the saying. It doesn't necessarily mean you got to go out there and work 80 hours. But that you work really hard so that you don't eventually have to go to work 5 days a week.
I'd love to see. I've never heard that one, EO, but I'd love to see the stat for myself, because I know that there's plenty of summers where I was working over 100 hours every week, all through the summer, from the beginning of June till the end of August, because that's our busiest time. I'd be out there on that boat, and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours.
But that's so that you wouldn't have to sit in an office for 40 hours, making it comfortable.
I wouldn't have done well, because when I was in an office, I was always trying to get out of the office. So that's always problematic when they expect you to be in the office, right? But you also learn from that you have to temper your expectations of other people, because while you're willing to put in 100 hours because it's your business, someone else probably doesn't want to put in 100 hours because it's not their business.
Right. The people you're hiring, they're just wanting to put in their 40.
That's right.
Their 40 a week, and that's it.
So you really have to see both, and that can be a challenge too. I know it was for me. But now, hopefully, older, wiser, been in the game a little bit longer, learn to do it better.
Are you the sole owner, or do you share it?
No, all mine.
And you're like that, you're never going to split it up and maybe have more boats?
I'm waiting on the Shark or Marcus or someone to come by with the check. I mean, I'm definitely, ears are open. I think that's, for me at least, that's a small business owner's dream, the day someone comes by with a check,
Yeah. You got to go out there and find those people. You got to go out there and pitch it. But
hopefully they hear this podcast.
Yeah. What separates BoomBoom Sport Fishing from the others that do the same thing? Because you basically have people come to your website or call you up and they rent, or they pay by the hours that they're going out, or
they can choose different lengths of trips. So they can choose a 4-hour trip, 6-hour trip, 8-hour trip, or the 12-hour trip, and they pay the price for that.
And it's just a set price for the time that you're going to be on the ship.
Yes.
And obviously, because it's fishing, there's no guarantee that you're going to catch.
There's no guarantee. If we could guarantee it, we'd probably triple our price. But unfortunately, there's no guarantee. And for some people, it's hard for them to swallow that. It is a good deal of money to go out on the boat. So if you spend, $1,000 and you come home empty-handed, you can be a little salty. But I think some people are saltier than others, depending on if they understand the whole fishing, hunting,
it's
game
fishing
thing. We're not in a pond, we're in the big Pacific Ocean, which makes it more difficult. But what gives BoomBoom Sport Fishing a boost is, one, location. Like anything, we're in a great location for what we do. We're on the leeward side of the island, which means we have calmer water than anywhere around the island 90% of the time when we have our normal trade wind pattern, east to west. And also, our side of the island has very steep drop-offs close to shore. So it's 3,000 feet, 3 miles offshore, or 6,000 feet, 7 miles offshore, or 9,000 feet, 10 to 15 miles offshore for us. Okay. Where other places around the island, you might have to go 15 to 20 miles to get to 3,000 feet of water. So, one, the proximity to that ledge, and then two, the steepness of that ledge. When the ledge is steep like that, it creates a great upwelling for nutrients in the water to be pushed off of that wall, which the small bait come for, and it works its way up the chain till the top level predators that we go after, like the marlins, come to feed there.
So when you're going fishing, you're staying above the drop off?
Yeah, we usually fish the drop offs.
Okay.
various points in the drop-offs. Could be more to the south or more to the north of the west side. Could be holding the fish. So that's where we work.
How many other boats are in the area or businesses are in the area that are competing with you guys? Is that like a competitive thing to have these rental fishing boats?
I'm gonna go back one more for our advantages. Location is number one, and then number two would be what we're offering as far as a boat. We have a 50-foot boat with air conditioning, which is a big deal when you want to get out of the sun in Hawaii to be able to enjoy some AC.
Absolutely.
And the size of the boat makes it relatively comfortable, even if the seas are big, because the boat's bigger, it can handle the bigger seas.
Right.
And then the number one thing for us to stay successful is the way we treat our customers and our guests. We're definitely out there for them, realize that they're paying for us to be out here doing something that people pay to do, go catch a big fish. So we try to treat them well and make sure they have a good experience, whether they catch fish or not.
Yeah. Do you guys like offer like food, lunch, and stuff like that while they're out in the ocean?
We used to do that, but we realized we throw away so much, or we missed the target on what the people really wanted. So we just provide refrigerators, running water, microwave, and they can bring whatever they want to eat on the boat or drink.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. So I mean, so it's air conditioned, so there's got to be like a room inside, like a dining room or something like that, where they can all kind of just chill out.
Yeah, couch and a table, a couple chairs in our interior salon area, where they can eat their food or bring it out on the back deck.
You guys have like a big screen TV and stuff?
No, we don't. We tried TVs, hard to mount them. Like sometimes no matter how well you mount the thing, it wants to fly away, and that actually will make people even more seasick if they're looking at a TV or a device like a tablet or a phone when they're out there rocking in the ocean, because their eyes are telling them you're just looking at something that's stationary, but their equilibrium and body's telling them that you're moving around. It kind of can make them sick. So we're not big on the TV out there.
Okay. Good to know. We
have a great catch record. We do catch a very good amount of fish, have a reputation for catching fish, and that keeps us successful too. Like more people try us, so more times we're out in the ocean and more fish we're going to catch, because we're probably spending way more time out there than the average boat.
Yeah. Good. Very good. We always like to see successful businesses like that.
Thanks. It's been a blessing. It's been through a lot of hard work.
Yeah, it's the fight, and then the blessing comes. And
I'll tell you about when the blessing comes. Sometimes you don't even realize it's coming, and there it is. Like this year when I figured out that the guys can run the boat and I cannot run the boat all the time. That was a huge blessing, and I couldn't have ever forecasted that because I didn't believe it was possible.
Yeah. So is it something? So if you're looking for like investors or something like that, is there something that you have planned for that? Like plan on buying 2 more ships or another ship, and just name it the same and have it run the exact same way?
I've thought of franchising before. I've thought of just expanding before. So if an investor was to come along, we could look at both of those, franchising or just additional boats. One of the biggest challenges here in Hawaii is the getting a commercial slip in a harbor. So that's one of the huge upfront costs, where I was pretty lucky when I came in. There's a commercial slip available. You pay the small fee to the state and it's yours. Where now to come into like Waianae Harbor, the last commercial permit sold for $300,000.
What?
So that would be probably the biggest obstacle, because the boat and the slip could cost more than the boat, actually.
So for people that don't know shipping and fishing, the slip is where you park the boat?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and any slip in a harbor can have commercial designation, meaning you're allowed to run a commercial business out of that slip.
So that's your parking spot?
That's right.
And if you were to expand to have more ships, you would need to buy another slip?
That's right.
Okay. So it's not just buying the boat, it's also buying the slip. Because you can't have, if I'm wrong, you can't have 2 boats in the one slip, or can you like alternate?
No, you cannot alternate. If your regular boat was down for repairs, then you do have the ability to use a second boat, but you couldn't, say, run one boat today to do fishing and run another tomorrow to do diving. You can't switch like that.
So the slip is for the boat itself.
Yes, and that's where you keep the boat.
Right.
It's your parking spot.
Mm-hmm. So you can't like send the boat out for 8 hours and park the next boat in for 8 hours and leave that other boat out overnight or something.
No.
Couldn't do that.
No, could not.
Because then you could just have like a rotation if that was the thing. Yeah, so I guess that wouldn't be good.
You could do fishing one day and diving the next, or fishing one day and swimming with the dolphin the next, which is the most popular commercial business in our harbor, is the swimming with dolphin boats. They have the same location benefits as we do. Mm-hmm. We're at leeward. They're even closer. These guys only go, at the most, for the most part, 90% of the time, a mile offshore. So they're in really flat, calm water because the mountains are blocking the wind right there. And it's still, 100, 200 feet, and they're finding dolphin and whales, and people get to jump in the water and swim with them.
Wow, cool.
Kind of highly debated practice that goes on because the dolphins never really get a break.
There's just people constantly jumping in the water with them.
All day, every day.
Maybe the dolphins like that. I don't know.
They're social. They're social. There's times where you can definitely tell that they want to play, and there's other times they don't want to be bothered, and they just keep swimming.
Maybe the dolphin groups have like little tourist groups of their own. Like, hey, do you want to go human swimming today?
Want to go see the humans? Yeah.
This is a great spot. I know it's a great spot off Waianae. It's just a mile offshore.
And they're right there.
Yeah. The humans come, they jump in the water. We just swim with them.
True.
It's fun. Because dolphins are smart, right?
Well, I hear that they have a larger brain than humans, and maybe it's the only other mammal with a brain larger than a human. So, yeah, they're super smart.
Yeah, like elephants and old whales. I know elephants have like a massive brain.
Not sure, again, at this
part. I don't know what they do.
Not sure if it's true, but I also hear it's the only other mammal that has sex for pleasure.
I did not know that. I do know that dolphins like play with their food before they eat it. Like you'll see them grabbing killer whales do that too. They grab like a seal or something. They'll be tossing a seal out and toss them up in the air and
big dolphin, the killer whale.
Yeah,
which is pretty much a big dolphin.
Yeah, it is a dolphin, right? The orca. I learned that when I went to where were we? Monterey Aquarium. That was a nice, beautiful aquarium out there.
I'd like to go.
Yeah, we did this RV trip. We based out of San Jose, and a bunch of families got together that we always travel with, and we all got RVs. Each family got their own RV. So we did this big loop up north to Sonoma, the wine country and everything. Did a few days out there, and then we drove back south, and we went to Big Sur to stay among the big redwood trees.
Wow.
Amazing. Yeah. Like the big redwoods. If you haven't seen redwood trees, people, go and see redwood trees. It just blows your mind like how large these things are and how old they are. Yeah, so we went down to Big Sur, and we were looking at all the redwoods. We actually stayed in an RV park amongst the redwood forest, which was absolutely gorgeous. Took a lot of great pictures and stuff, and it's just amazing to see how tall those trees are. Because, I mean, we have big trees here, width-wise. You go to Kapiolani Park, you see those really wide banyan trees and stuff like that.
Yes.
But those redwoods, they're wide, but they're tall. Like, they just go up and 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 up. So it was great to see that, and then we went up to Monterey, and that's where we stayed in an RV park in that area, and we went to the aquarium and stuff like that. And it's a beautiful aquarium. If you haven't been, Monterey Bay Aquarium it blows the aquarium we have out of the water. It's just it's beautiful. It's right on the ocean, and highly recommend people go do that.
It's definitely on our bucket list of things to do. And I want to drive through one. I heard that you can drive through some of these redwood trees, and I think that would be great. Yeah.
There's some parks where they've carved like the roadway through one of the trees. So it's like a massive tree with like this big arch. But I think you have to have like a certain size car to go through. You can't just have like a big SUV or something to go through it. But
you have to have a big SUV to go through it.
No, I don't think you can. I think you have to have a small car. You have to have a small car to get through there. But it's still a massive freaking tree.
That's huge.
And one of the cool things we got to learn about the redwoods is that like forest fires don't always affect them. You hear about like the forest fires in California right now?
Yes.
when we were up there, we actually got to see some of the areas where the fire had gone through. And some of those redwoods, the sequoia trees, they're so thick and they're so full of moisture that the fire actually like will come through, burn off like the outside bark, and then move on. Like it can't get to
the core of that tree. It's so big.
Yeah, and the trees just survive and survive and survive.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So maybe branches get burned off, but then the tree just survives and reproduces and keeps going. That's unbelievable. No wonder they're so big.
Yeah, they like have cores of the tree trunks that are cut, and you can like count the rings and stuff. And they have dates that they put on the rings, like when this tree started. And like some of those trees like started in like 1700.
Wow.
Like, or Columbus, discovered America in 1492. It's like, oh, this tree was
he
here.
Planted that tree.
Yeah, this tree was here since then, and it's still here. Oh, wait, we cut it down. Damn it.
Oh, wow. Do we cut down a lot of redwoods every year? Is that going on, deforestation?
I don't think so, because I think they don't cut any more down, but they do die off and they fall down eventually. Yes. But I don't think they log those trees. It'd be sad if they do.
Yeah.
They're massive. So what else is going on? So tell us about Lacrosse. What's going on with that? You're taking over for St. Louis?
Yeah, I am. Really looking forward to it.
What happened with the coach that was there?
John Keogh,
yeah,
who was a great player for the Hawaii lacrosse team, a great person, and also a great coach at St. Louis and Kapolei High School before, moved to the mainland. So I'm taking over for him. Big shoes to fill.
Yeah.
But I hope that we can really advance and progress the program. We also have some great things. We're working to get lacrosse as a varsity ILH sport. Right now we have a commitment from St. Louis and Punahou. We're looking for hopefully Kamehameha and the other ILH schools to jump in too, because we really like to see it for all the ILH kids and all the public school kids because of lacrosse's growth and tremendous scholarship opportunities that are out there for both boys and girls.
Yeah, I don't think people realize that when they're signing their kids up for sports, especially here in Hawaii. They're getting their kids super involved in things like soccer, basketball, baseball, and a lot of those sports, like there's a huge population of kids across the country that are playing those sports. And when you're moving up to the college level, I mean, the parents are trying to get them good at the elementary and high school level so that they can get scholarships and go on to college and play at that level. But what they don't understand is that there's so many kids and there's only a limited number of spots on these college rosters and colleges across the country. And then you have a sport like lacrosse. There's not a whole lot of kids playing lacrosse across the country. I mean, it's a growing sport. Comparatively, right.
Way more than I ever would have imagined at this point. Being a Maryland kid, as I grew up playing lacrosse, really all the lacrosse players were either from Long Island, New York, or the Baltimore area. And then there was other areas in between that may or may not have had teams from Philadelphia, New Jersey, places like that, other places in Pennsylvania. But now you have kids in high school playing public school in Utah, Colorado, which Colorado is one of the early growth hotbeds outside of the East Coast.
Yep.
In California, Texas, it's becoming huge. Oregon, Washington State. So the growth is tremendous, but you're right. Not nearly as many kids are playing lacrosse as play football, baseball, basketball.
And there's still a lot of colleges that have lacrosse, and they're looking for players.
Every year, schools are popping up out of the woodwork with programs. And one of the attractive things to these schools is the balance that it brings their Title IX regulations, I guess is the way to put it. But under Title IX, if you're offering a men's scholarship, you have to also offer a women's. So if you're offering 200 men's scholarships, you have to offer 200 women's scholarships. So a women's lacrosse team might have 25 to 40, 50 members. So it's a great balancer for those schools, for their football programs to offer a lacrosse program. So you're seeing teams from Stanford, USC, University of Florida, Northwestern University in Chicago that are popping up with really, really good Stanford is another one. Really good competitive lacrosse teams outside of the traditional hotbed. So there's tremendous growth at the college level, and you're right. They need kids to fill those spots.
Yeah. I think it has a stigma of being, lacrosse has a stigma of being like an Ivy League type of sport, traditionally rich white kid playing that kind of sport, but it's not. I mean, it's really that was for a time period at the college level, it was like the Ivy League sport. But there's a resurgence of Native Americans, First Nations people that are coming out and saying that, no, this is our sport that we created. That's right. And they're increasing their skill level, and they're putting together teams and going to the world championships. And so what you see with the lacrosse is that, hey, it's not this Ivy League sport. It's a Native American. These are like the
it's a pretty blue
Indians.
Collar. It is.
Yeah.
It had that stigma for a long time of being the rich white sport, the very upper class type sport. But even if you look at the kids that were playing at that time, they're the blue collar of that group, because it's pretty down and gritty kind of sport. You're running really hard. You're shooting a ball that's pretty heavy and hard at up to 90, 100, 120 miles an hour for some of the professionals these days.
Yep.
And it hurts to get hit with the ball or to get hit by a person running full speed. I think if you took the ideal lacrosse team from a football team, you'd probably be taking the offensive backs, the wide receivers, and the linebackers and the defensive backs because of the speed and agility that's required to play lacrosse. But you're right. Lacrosse's origins are in the Native American community, which I am part of, and it's great to see those teams like the Iroquois national team compete at the highest level against Team Canada or Team US. It makes for some of the best games out there. The Iroquois team out there, but it definitely is becoming more a sport of the people than it was a sport of the elite like it used to be.
Yep.
And arguably the best player ever to pick up a lacrosse stick is Jim Brown. He's from Manhasset High School in Long Island, New York.
I'm about the running back, Cleveland Browns, right?
He was the NFL's leading rusher for a long time before Emmitt Smith broke his record.
Yeah, but he was a Syracuse lacrosse player.
Yes, he was.
Really good.
Played Syracuse lacrosse up until his senior year when he had to focus just on football. But I know people who played against him, and they said it was like a man amongst boys out there on the lacrosse field for Jim. The way he could run through or over or around people to get to the goal and take a shot was I guess it would have been something to see. I wish I would have seen some of that.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of video. I don't think I've ever seen any video of Jim Brown playing lacrosse at Syracuse, but there's a lot of football.
I've only seen pictures of him with his stick, and I've never seen a game either.
But some people say like the way he ran the ball in football, he got those skills from lacrosse, like the spin moves, the cutbacks, and stuff like that, because those are like traditional fundamental skills in lacrosse.
Yes, foot agility is key in lacrosse. I used to play with Mark Millen, who was a tremendous attackman, arguably one of the best players ever to pick up a stick. But he played it like a point guard in basketball, and he would say how to get like ideas and inspiration on moves to make. He would watch the NBA and particularly watch the point guards, the way that they could handle the ball with both hands, the way that they could spin, the way they could cut, the way they could find the open player or set things up off of a drive to make an open player is something that he learned and I learned by hearing him say it and tell me about it. So I started doing it too. But it is like massive agility and footwork and speed goes into making the premier lacrosse players.
Yeah, so it's not, and I mean, you have the agility, but you also have guys that are just players who are big, kind of slow. They can hold down the defensive area. You have those players who are shaped like their body type like a gazelle. They can just run forever. They have an area that they can play in lacrosse, and then you have maybe the smaller guys who are below 5'8" that still have a place in lacrosse as an attackman.
Well, just like Muggsy Bogues can make it amongst the trees of the NBA. If a guy plays hard enough and runs fast enough, there's actually a guy that just graduated from Yale. I forget his first name, but his last name is Sessa. And his uncle, Mike Sessa, played with me in college. And Sessa was the smallest guy out there for Yale. He must have been like 5'5" or something, but he was a starter and he was an impactful player. because of his understanding of the game and his quickness.
Yeah.
So definitely there's a spot for everybody. And Patrick Kearney, I think is his name. It was the first round draft pick of the Atlanta Falcons, is a defensive lineman, was also a great player on the lacrosse team at University of Virginia. So yeah, definitely you could take some of those big, fast NFL defensive linemen that run 4.6s, and they would be very hard to stop on offense or get past on defense, if you can imagine.
Yeah. Bill Belichick, he coached lacrosse, or he was a big lacrosse coach before he even got to the Patriots. A lot of people don't know that, but yeah, there's a lot of interviews with Bill Belichick talking about his lacrosse time.
Well, I conducted one of them. It was impromptu on the BoomBoom, but he came fishing with me one day.
Wow, you got pictures of that?
I don't. Oh. I had everything, but that was flip phone days, and I don't know how it didn't transfer. I don't know where it went, but I took Bill fishing, and Sean Payton actually brought him on the boat. But I got a chance to talk to Bill about lacrosse because, like me, he's from Maryland. His dad was a coach at the Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland. So he grew up playing lacrosse. His kid played lacrosse at Rutgers, who I think I'm not sure if it's the same son, but I know one of his sons is now on the coaching staff for the Patriots right now. But and he got a lot of players from Rutgers, if you look back at the Patriots organization, football players, while his son was playing lacrosse at Rutgers. So yeah, he always talks about lacrosse. And then the receiver from Penn State, he was an All-American midfielder at Penn State. And then he went on in graduate school to Monmouth College and had another year eligibility somehow. And he played football at Monmouth College and then was drafted by the Patriots. But he was an All-American lacrosse player at Penn State prior to that.
Yeah, no, lacrosse has a lot of great fundamentals and great skills that can translate to other sports. So that's one of the things that I know here in Hawaii we're looking at. It's like, hey, get your kids to play like a different sport for our league is like 3 months, 4 months, not even that.
It's so short. I don't know if there's another season as short as AYLA's right now, but I'm with you.
But just to get those other skills in there, see a different game.
Well, I think sports has come to be a money-making industry where this year-round soccer and year-round football is it's going to drive the skill level up a lot because they're playing a lot more. It's also driving revenue for a lot of people, and that's why they like to offer it out there. But for the kids, I don't know if it's the greatest thing because I think when you see the year-round stuff, the burnout rate has to be much higher.
Yep.
And then they're not as diverse.
Right.
You want the kids to be a contributor on the baseball team, but maybe a star on the basketball team and a solid contributor on the football team. Then they're learning all these different roles that they can play to be a part of a team. And the separate skill sets, like you're saying, where they can learn different footwork or agility, or maybe their hand-eye coordination can become better by doing something different. But I really believe it's great for a kid to be well-rounded.
Yeah.
Kind of concerned when I hear parents say that, my kid plays lacrosse. That's good, but it can lead to a burnout kid. And I know a ton of them who, by the time they get to freshman year of college or senior year of high school, they don't want to pick up a stick ever again.
Yeah, they're done with it.
Yep.
And that's sad, because you have people like you and me who still play sports well into our, 40s, 50s, and I want that for my kids. I want them to have a sport where they can play it as an adult, to stay in shape, to just have fun and, have like an outlet for all their pent up frustration from the work week as an adult, So that's what I look at when I play hockey. And I'm sure because you still play lacrosse with the adults league. Right?
I do. We just wrapped up our 29th annual tournament here in Hawaii, and I played on the Masters, which is 30 and over, and the Grand Masters, which is 40 and over. And you're right. If it weren't for chasing that ball around for the last 35 years of my life, I would have gained a heck of a lot more weight. It gives you purpose to get out there and do something.
Yeah, it keeps you in shape for going fishing.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I like it because you have sports like football where, they just can't play that after a certain age. If you're done in high school and you can't go on to college, you're never going to play football again. Like, you're just not.
That's right.
And even baseball. You have guys that play baseball throughout their life, but if they don't go on to play either college or professional, they're relegated to playing rec league softball.
Yep.
It's like, it's not the same thing.
That's right.
That's not really a workout.
That is a blessing of lacrosse. And it's nice of you to point that out, Eo, because I don't think about that much, especially when it comes to my kids. I'm thinking about, like, we were talking about the college opportunity and the scholarship opportunity is what I'm looking at with them. But you're right. It's great for them to be able to carry on with that and play competitively through the years.
Yeah.
Bill Tierney, who's the coach at University of Denver, the first team in college history outside of the East Coast to win a college lacrosse national championship, played in a 65 and over tournament in Colorado a few years ago that I attended. So yeah, you can play it forever.
Yeah. For kids growing up, I want them to have that sport that they can continue playing well into their adult life and stuff like that, and still have some fun and some recreation like that. So how come, like, lacrosse, do they, so as like the little kids, lacrosse is on a smaller field. And
Yes.
So how come they don't just do that with the older guys, like the 60 and older?
Put them on a smaller
Put them on a smaller.
That's a great idea.
Pee-wee team.
We might have to take that up at the next tournament. I think it's just because it's so hard to even get people out to line the fields in the first place.
Just tell them, hey, we'll just play on a small field, because like tennis. Have you heard of pickleball?
No.
So it's like tennis, except they shrink the tennis court and they have like a wooden paddle and they have like it's like a wiffle ball, those old plastic balls that they don't really bounce much.
Yes.
And so it's for like older people or people that aren't as mobile anymore. So they kind of can just stand there and whack the ball to each other.
That's a great idea.
Instead of running around on the tennis court,
Right.
Yeah, it's called pickleball. It's for old people.
I like that.
We could do that for like lacrosse. Just have like a small
We need that. We need that. We'd have more players out there if we did that.
Yeah, just line the field small so they don't have to run. They can just stand there and pass.
That would be great.
It's a new thing called speed lacrosse. They have it. Have you seen that?
Is that the 5-on-5 outdoor?
Yeah, and they play like with a small net, maybe like a 3x3 net.
Oh.
So there's no goalie or anything, and it's co-ed.
I've not seen that.
And it's basically just for stick handling and stuff. There's zero contact, and it's just stick handle, try to shoot into that small net.
I might have heard of something like that, but I haven't seen it. That's pretty cool. Anything that gets a stick in people's hands and gets them out there moving, playing lacrosse. Yeah. I think one of the most challenging things to a new lacrosse player is the stick handling. Mm-hmm. Being able to catch and throw the ball can make it very frustrating if you're having a hard time doing it, and that probably keeps kids away at times too.
I think when they first see it does. It's kind of a challenge to even when you see other kids doing what they do with the stick and the ball, and then picking up the stick and not even be able to run with it or cradle it. It's really frustrating. But once they learn that,
it turns into fun.
It takes off. Yeah,
it does. It's that curve that each of us has to go through. But You're right. Once they make it through the curve, they can really enjoy the sport. Mm-hmm. But the first thing is getting them past that initial. For some, could be curve. For others, it could be a mountain. But getting them over that, and then it's fun on the other side, right?
But I tell some parents who they have their kids kind of interested in it, but they know that their kid is just not really coordinated with hand-eye coordination, handling with ball sports and stuff like that. And I'm like, just put him on defense. Give him a 6-foot pole, and he doesn't have to handle the ball that much. He can just, if he does, just scoop it and pass it off to someone who does, but in the meantime, he can just defend the goal, use his body and stuff like that.
Right. Yes. That's a good idea too.
So they don't have to be like master stick handlers, right off the bat. There's always a place to find, a position to find for, any player in a lacrosse field.
Well, there'll always be a spot for a kid who can play defense and has good footwork. Where you're right, they don't have to handle the ball that much. If they can do their other jobs really well, then like any other team, they compensate for that weakness.
Yeah.
But for sure. But one of the best things for these kids is to get out with that stick and with that ball and throw it off of a wall. It's something that doesn't take a partner. It's solo, and that's what any really good lacrosse player has spent a ton of time throwing the ball off of a brick wall, playing catch with themselves. Mm-hmm. To develop good stick work.
So is that one of the challenges here, trying to get the sport into like other high schools and stuff, like just unavailability of sticks, or what? I think what is the challenge there?
I think the biggest challenge that I've seen with the high schools is we try to work varsity lacrosse into the ILH is unfamiliarity with the sport. But when you show them the scholarship numbers and what's out there and what's available for the kids, I think a lot of them are forced to make room for it. And we all have very limited field space here in Hawaii.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of great campus fields where kids can practice sports like I think we see on the mainland more. That's definitely a challenge too. And you really have to have an athletic director who's willing to carve out that space for lacrosse, be it in the budget to have another team or in making time with the limited field space.
Yeah.
And really for AYLA, we really plan on leaning on the public parks as our practice fields and sometimes our game fields, even when it is an ILH varsity sport because of the limited field space.
Yeah.
But as people become familiar with lacrosse and the agility it creates, the camaraderie it creates, and the opportunities it creates, I think that it will move nicely here into the islands.
Yeah.
And there's a movement for it too on the Big Island. There's a couple high school teams playing over there right now that are really good. So
yeah, when I saw the Big Island teams come here to Oahu for their weekend tournament with the Oahu teams, it's like the big Hawaiian dudes out there with their long hair and stuff,
big
and just like going,
kids,
and they were having a blast. I was like, yes, that's what we need. We need to see those kids, the local kids, coming out and really showing their passion and their love and specialty for the sport. It was great. It was really great to see. It was like, hey, it's not just football. Hawaii is great for football. It produces a lot of great football players. And I think for that same reason, it could produce a lot of great lacrosse players.
For sure. And I agree with you. And AYLA needs to see the growth of the local kids. A lot of the AYLA kids are from the mainland, or their parents are stationed here, and so they're involved in the lacrosse league. But we really want to see growth of the average local kid picking up a stick and having a great time playing and having those same opportunities available to them because of the sport.
Is it about getting them into like the public schools and like the PE curriculums and stuff like that? Or
we definitely would like to see more in the public schools. We need more kind of a touring group of Hawaii lacrosse players that can go around and give demonstrations at PE classes, and we're working on that. But it's been a bit of a challenge with everyone's strong work schedule.
Yeah, definitely.
But that would definitely help if we could do more of the demos, I think. But also we do free clinics for beginners. The clinic's absolutely free, so it's important too for parents to keep their eyes out and see the opportunity for a free clinic and put the time in. And we had one called the Trilax Clinic, which by a grant from U.S. Lacrosse allowed us to give every kid that entered 2 balls and a stick, and they paid $30, which also gave them a subscription to U.S. Lacrosse magazine and a membership to U.S. Lacrosse. So they get like 6 magazines a year. It was $30, and you get a $100 stick and a couple of balls.
I think that's fantastic, because once you get the stick, once the kid gets that stick and they start to see what they can do with it, like how far they can throw a ball or how accurately they can throw a ball, like it changes things. It really clicks. It starts to become fun. It's like, oh my God, I can launch this ball super far.
That's right.
And just get that fun part in, and then they can join a team, and then they can actually learn the game and learn the fundamentals, and really get to go from there on learning the game itself, because it's not just about throwing the ball far or throwing the ball hard. It's a lot of teamwork involved.
For sure.
But throwing that ball really far, that's
it's
fun.
A lot of fun. If you can shoot it really hard, it's a lot of fun. The first time you shoot it and you see the hole rip in the net, that's pretty exhilarating accomplishment and experience, right?
I think for my kids, especially when they were 3 years ago when they first started, they could throw with a lacrosse stick. They could throw a ball way farther than they could throw it with their hand. And that like clicked in them. They're like, oh, this is fun. I can just launch it. And I would let them, we would go to the field and I would just let them, hey, just here, throw the ball as far as you can.
Launch it. Yeah.
And then go run after it and grab it and throw it back.
You did a great job. They're really good at it.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Both of them. They really have exceptional stick skills for kids their age. So you've done a great job. And I'm glad you're coaching.
I want them to have fun doing it, though.
Yeah.
So as long as they're having fun doing it and they can see the value in it also, that's the important thing.
That's right. That's right.
All right.
Well, thank you, Eo.
No, thank you for coming on, man. And I kudos to BoomBoom SportFishing.
Thank you.
We'll put the link in the description below if you guys want to go fishing.
Give us a call.
Give us a call. Give BoomBoom Fishing a call. Check out their website. They have different packages for different time frames, like the 4-hour time frame, 6-hour, or an 8-hour all day kind of thing.
Yes, as well as we do shared and private trips. Shared trips are if it's 1 or 2 people that don't want to pay the cost of the whole boat, they can pay per person to come on the boat with a maximum of 6 people being on that boat. A private trip is when you have the boat either for 1 person or up to 6.
Okay. And it's a 50-footer with air conditioning on it.
That's right. That's
important, man.
It catches some fish.
Right on. Well, kudos to you guys, and thank you for coming on. As always, Hawaii, stay happy.
Aloha.
Right on, man.
Right on. Thanks, Eo. That was cool.